When you first log into learn.senecacollege.ca, it's going to put you on this landing page. Over here are a list of all your courses. So let's just open this up. Now for MCO455, there is a theory section DF, and there's a D, E, and F lab section. And you'll find that there's an AC theory section and an A, B, and C lab section. So if you're in the AC, you're either going to have A, B, or C lab. If you're in the DF theory section, you'll either be in D, E, or F lab sections. All of the lab sections are set up exactly the same way. So let's just take a look at the FF lab section. And you'll see that all of our lab sections, no matter whether you're in AA, BB, CC, D, EE, or FF, they're all going to be set up in exactly the same way. Let's take a look at announcements. And there's a Getting Started at Seneca online video that if you click here, you can watch it if you're new to Seneca College's online courses. Or if you've done this online stuff before, you can click here and get a quick review. MCO455 is an online course in that all materials can be accessible 24/7 online. And we're going to be using Zoom to conduct both lab and theory classes, but we're not going to be using Zoom video conferencing because it just takes up too much bandwidth and it can cause the system to crash when there's large classes, especially when those classes are given in the middle of the day. The video lectures will cover the theoretical aspects of the course, followed by online practice quizzes that make sure that you have absorbed the material. So even though there are no marks for the practice quizzes, they do make up questions that you're going to see on the chapter quizzes worth 10%, term test worth 30%, and the final exam worth 20% of your mark. As you can see, our labs are going to be given in various rooms, 4068, 4066, 4058. And one of the things that's kind of interesting to look at here is what one of the theory classes is going to be given in this particular room at Seneca College, whereas this other theory class is going to be given online. Now for this particular class here, even if you are coming to the class, I do want you to bring your laptops so that you can actually work through the same material as the people that decide to actually work online. So you can either work online or come to class, but if you do come to class, please bring your laptops. You should pre-do the labs before you come into the lab class. Now, all evaluations for MCO455, whether they be lab or theory, are going to be done using multiple choice and true-false questions. For the labs, there's no labs being handed in. There's no projects being handed in. Everything is going to be evaluated based on doing labs, understanding material, and then answering true-false questions and multiple choice questions based on what you've learned by doing the actual labs themselves. Now, one of the most important aspects of MCO455 is you must pass both the lab and the theory in order to pass the course. And most people that fail MCO455 fail the lab, not the theory. And that's because the theory has a repetitive practice quizzes that make up your chapter quizzes, which make up your term tests, which make up your final exam. So it's fairly easy to do well in the theory, but the lab is the thing that's most important to do well on. The only real cost to this course is for the lab portion of the course, where you have to buy certain required materials. This is the MCO 455 parts list. Now for summer of 2022, the key element here, the Freedom K64, is not available from any of these suppliers and probably won't be for the entire semester. However, all of the other items listed here, the Grove Shield, the Grove Backlit LCD, all the way down to the Adafruit Bluefruit UART Friend, you will have to purchase, and then you can hook these up to Freedom K64s that are actually in the labs that we're going to be using this semester. Let's take a look at our lab situation. So in A4058, A4066, 4068, and there's also another lab 4069, these labs all have Freedom K64s where you can hook up all of those other devices to them, and we'll see when you need those as we look through our addendum here. So if we look through our addendum, you can see if we slide down here, you're going to need by the week of June 13th, you're going to need your temperature sensor and your angle sensor, better known as POT. And then in the second half here, you will also need to have your LCD. You're going to have your 4-digit display, passive infrared, and your Bluefruit UART Friend. So all of these things you have to have, and it's best if you order them fairly soon at the start of the semester so that you're guaranteed that they will be in your hands to be able to hook them up in the lab when you need them. Okay, as I mentioned before, the temperature sensor and the pot have to be bought within the first half of the semester. However, it's a lot cheaper if you order all of these parts from the Grove Backlit display down to the UART Friend at one time. And the best supplier out of here, and that's why it's called preferred supplier, is DigiKey, because DigiKey gives you absolutely no hassle. They ship it and it's there within 24 to 48 hours from the time you order it, and you pay one shipping fee and you're good to go. The Freedom K64, the reason I left it here was just in case maybe in the summertime these may become available. However, for those people that want to work at home and then come into the lab once they've worked with stuff instead of going into open labs, there are some students that actually have a Freedom K64 in all these parts, or the equivalent Freedom K22 in all these parts, and they're looking to sell those. And I'll make that information available to you later. Let's now take a look at faculty information. So if we click here, anytime you have questions or problems, you can simply click here and send me an email that I'll respond to usually within a day. Let's take a look at our textbook here, and it's called Embedded IoT Using Embed. We can click here, and to get a bigger view we can actually click here. Some of these things are going to be referred to, so you have backup information here about how to do hex addition, hex subtraction, what NZBC means, and so on for the first couple weeks, and getting started with I/O, what a LED interface is, LED program. So these are all in your textbook here. So it talks about programming in binary, hex, octal, and how all these things are related, and why we're learning how to do conversions from hex to binary to octal as part of our course. Let's go back here. Now, the more important thing here is our labs. So let's take a look at our labs, and this is the first one that we're going to work on here. Now, one of the things that you're going to find here is, again, no labs are going to be handed in because this is going to be all evaluated online, and there's no real mark for doing this lab other than the multiple choice and true false questions that you're going to be asked after you finish this. Now, for instance, if you click here, anything in pink is a video, and be able to watch the video on how to do octal to binary and so forth. As I said, this course is practically self-teaching. So if we go back here, what you're going to find is there's a video here, and it talks about how to do conversions between these various number systems. Now, anything in the black here is correct, and what you're going to find is that when you take a look at that, you have to decide, is this the correct octal? If it's not, then circle it. And in this case, as we'll see, this is not correct, so you're going to circle it. So what you're going to do is take what you've learned by watching the video and say, okay, this is correct. Is this the right octal? It's not, so we're going to circle it. Is this the right hex? It is, so we're not going to circle it. So this is the kind of thing you're going to do to prepare yourself for Lab 1 quiz, which is going to be not the first week, but the second week of classes, as was shown in the addendum. Now, it does mention here a project. Now, we're not going to hand in the project. You don't really have to do the project, but if you do the project, it's going to give you a lot more programming experience. Now, if we look here, it shows you what it's going to do, and if all you want to do is check out with the Freedom K64, you can click on this link and download it right to your board with all your hardware that you've got at the end of this, by the end of the second half, and be able to actually run this burglar alarm program, because this is like an executable or bin file or binary file that you can download, and it will then provide all that functionality. And if you happen to have an old Freedom K22, you click into this and it does the same thing for that board. But when you see how it works, then you should be able to some degree or another, be able to reverse engineer what you're seeing to write your own code to do this kind of stuff. And that, if you can do any of that, that's going to really show that you can do programming and be able to later do something like this for your TPJ or Technical Projects course. Now, we've gone through the lab portion here. Let's go and take a look at, say, the DF section. Now, the DF section here is going to be laid out practically identically, except you've got video lectures. Now, video lectures here, if we take a look, Lab 1, Part 1, course overview, preface, number conversion. So we click here, there's a whole bunch more. So you have a whole bunch of video lectures, and then right afterwards, you have practice quizzes. Practice quiz for week 1, and you can do these quizzes over and over and over 1,000 times if you want until you get it perfect. And there's no credit for doing this, but the chapter quizzes, you're going to have chapter quizzes for chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and IoT. These are worth marks, and the practice quizzes that you've done here based on these video lectures will help you prepare for the chapter quizzes. The chapter quizzes will help you prepare for the term test, and the term test will help you prepare for the final exam. So as I mentioned earlier, the repetitive nature of the kind of questions that you're going to run into on the theory makes it very easy to do very well on the theory aspects of the course.